A little bit of background. My mother, in the early 30s, met my father and decided to elope with him. And when she did that, she couldn't come to America because she got left behind. And then the war hit. She was alone with that family and at an amazing disadvantage. Then her husband got caught in the war. He was shipped off to Africa to fight as a soldier as a fascist. When he came back and reunited with her, all she wanted to do was to come to America because they were flat broke.
Our story begins in Ponza, a small island off the coast of Naples. This is where Fulvia and Antonio fell in love and where Genoveffa, Tony, and Rosie spent their early childhood.
When we lived in Ponza, there was a nonna Genoveffa's house. And when they left for New York, Mommy was living there with us. So one level house, in the back here the well. They could use the water to wash the clothes and everything. And a big yard in the back that you could play.
We had no choice. So we made invention like we were selling food or we had a store. But it was a little rocks, a little sand, and there was supposed to be the flour and there was supposed to be the pasta. And imagination. If we had a doll which we made it out of an handkerchief. You remember the way we used to curl up the handkerchief?
An unexpected visitor arrived on Ponza during the war. Benito Mussolini himself.
The military came to my mother and they went on Genoveffa's house for Mussolini. And my mother said, but I have 3 children, where am I going to go? And this, they look around and then by the night that they should come in, they had a different place in Santa Maria on the beach. So he went over there. But during the day, he used to walk around with the military and used to see people, used to stop and talk. And one day he talked to us, but I don't remember what he said because I was young, too young. But I remember his face, and Tony too, because me and Tony were every time together.
As the war progressed, the family faced incredible hardships. Fulvia was alone on the island with 3 young children, while Antonio was captured as a prisoner of war in Africa. Fulvia made the courageous decision to leave Ponza for Naples, where Antonio had family. She hoped they would be able to help her, but this was not the case.
On Ponza was my grandmother, my Aunt Jenny, my father, and my Aunt Rosie. They ended up having to travel to the mainland, a lot of it for survival.
At the time of the war, when the siren used to go on, we had to go to a shelter. And my mother, she used to take all of us nella Grotta del Serpente. To help my mother was Geppino, Nannina, and Maria. They came down, they were friends. And one night they went to a different shelter and she lost my sister Rosie. So my mother was very upset for that. And I don't know how they thought about that because Nonno Salvador, beside on his house, he had a piece of land with a grotto on top of the property. At one point, my mother moved all our bed in there, and even at the friend, they moved their bed there. And we used to go in that grotto the Grandpa Salvador had on his land instead of the grotto del Sorprende, because it was easy for my mother.
The only thing I remember from Ponza coming to Naples was that it was nighttime and we were on this boat, but all the lights were shut off. But there was a plane flying and kept bombing, sending bombs down. I thought they were fireworks. I wanted to see them. But Mom, poor thing, she was holding all 3 of us. And that she didn't want me to see. And that was the only thing I remember, that plane bombing the boat. Thank God I didn't get it.
We see a building like, knocked down, car, tram, burned, road destroyed. It was a mess. It was horrible. There was no damage like that in Ponza.
We had no shelter. We didn't have a bed. We didn't have anything except each other. And we lived by the moment. Mom was a very strong woman. It was very tough for her to deal with a woman alone. Maybe she was 25, 3 children, no family, no food, no husband, no money.
The food, that's another story.
Fulvia and her 3 children moved throughout Naples in search of shelter and food. When they arrived in Santa Maria Capua Vetere, a neighbor, who was sick with 4 children, suggested Fulvia go to a private garden to pick vegetables.
This piece of land was the property of the monk of the church that was in town, which we didn't know. On Sunday morning, we used to go to church. And she went to confession. And she told the priest that she wanted to steal the vegetables. That was her own property. On Monday morning, one of the boys from the church came and he said to my mother, the Monsignor wants to see you. So my mother said, oh my God. She says, get ready, come with me, because if I gotta go to jail, you gotta come with me. She was afraid to leave us with nobody. She never left us, never, never, never. When we went to the church, the Monsignor came out. He let me, Tony, and Rosie wait in another room, and he took Mommy in the office. So and he said to her, because then she told us what happened. And he said to her, do you know that you went to steal in our property? She says, I went to pick up some vegetable and some wood, but I don't know what part it is, what zone, what kind of land it is, where it belongs to, because I'm new over here. She said, but I went to do that because my kids, they're hungry, and I don't have no food for them. So the priest, the Monsignor said to my mother, from now on, every week you're going to get an envelope with some of the, whatever you can make for you and your family, and another envelope for the lady across the street. And that's where they used to do it. She even used to sell cigarettes. That was a contraband cigarette at that time, because she could go to jail if they would catch her. Sometimes even for a piece of bread, she used to do that. Because a piece of bread, they made us satisfied.
In 1945, a marshal calls Fulvia to the office of the Red Cross. Antonio is alive and with his father in Santa Anastasia. He is looking for his family.
But when he came home, he looked terrible. He was sick, skinny.
I remember the way when he still had the black shirt and the black pants and a black hat and a black beard. So when I saw him, I didn't want to accept him. He didn't look pretty. He really did not look nice. And he was a nervous type. He had gone through his own war, so it was a very difficult time to accept him. You know, to us, to me, he was a stranger.
He was a prisoner of war. So it was not easy. And he used to say that they had a trench for the dead people, and they used to sleep right over there with them. On the ground, and they didn't have no mattress, nothing. That was a rough life for him. And when he came back, he wasn't normal. He was sick and then crazy.
After the war, the family moved to Cercola, a suburb of Naples. Life began to improve, as Fulvia's parents were able to send care packages from America.
And that's when things started to change, because when we went to Cercola, then we got the notification that Nonna Salvador and Nonna Genoveffa from the United States, that they was looking for a daughter too, because nobody knew if you were alive or dead. And that's when the Nonna started having a letter from the mother and the father. And then they send us a package. Every 2 or 3 weeks we used to get a package from the United States.
We used to go and meet the train. Really. Tony and I, we would go to the train station, and if there was a package, they would give it to us. We didn't have to wait for the day after that they would come and deliver it.
And Nonna Genoveffa used to send the coffee, chocolate, clothes, shoes, whatever she could have it, she used to send it to us. Sugar. Me and Tony and Rosie started school because, you know, when it was the war, we didn't go to school. The school they destroyed, was no school.
But Mom wanted to make sure that we were up to date with our age when the school opened. She hired this old teacher, and she would teach all of us. She gave a lesson. So, of course, what they learned, I learned the same thing they learned. So when I went to school, I was more advanced, but I was too little to go to a regular school. They wouldn't take me, so she put me in a parochial school. And it was expensive for her.
Fulvia and Antonio started the paperwork to obtain refugee status in America. Soon after, Fulvia discovered she was pregnant.
I was born in 46. So that was a problem because she already had 3 children and now became number 4. Every time she had a child, she had to reapply. And all the paperwork that she made before to come to America got thrown into the trash. It got started all over again. So that was the stress in our lives growing up. My mother wanted to come to America for economic reasons because she felt that post-war Italy didn't have the resources.
They used to call us the Americans. They used to call Mom Signora Americana, and us Americanelle, because she had family in America.
And they did the application for my mother, non Genoveffa, and so non Salvador. And they warranty for a year that if my father will find a job, they support us.
The family spent 10 years in Cercola before they were able to come to America. During that time, life continued to improve. Lee was born there in 1948, followed by Patty in 1953.
A typical morning routine would be, basically just a sponge bath. My mother used to braid my hair, and then I would go outside and play. Outside our apartment, if you want to call it that, it used to be a barn. Well, outside of it, there were rubbles from the war, and the kittens used to hide in there, and I would go in there and pull them out. Of course, my mother would be pissed off at me and yell at me for doing that because it was dangerous, but I didn't see the danger. I loved it. I loved every moment, and they used to call me the cat lady.
At night we would go to sleep in the other room, but it was not fancy in anything. We just had a bed and that was it. A bed made out of corn husk. They would dry them, and every year they would put fresh one in. That was our mattress.
After the war, we had very little in terms of clothing, furniture. We had the bare necessities. To give you some idea, my father, who was apprenticed to a tinsmith when he was 7, actually made a stove that burned sawdust. Because we had this little stove, we always had heat. We always had hot water to be bathed. We always had clean clothes.
You felt secure with being with brothers and sisters. We used to sing a lot. We listened to the radio. It was a great thing.
E turno samo isto do tumere in the bottle, not in the jar. At that time we didn't have the jar. Mom used to buy half of the pig, and they used to make all the stuff for the year. She used to make ugodina. She used to make sausage.
I was always impressed by creating the Presepio, the creche, and all the figurines, and they would sew and mold, and a lot of this was done out of paper mache and cardboard and scraps. They would also do it to try to earn extra money as well.
Finally, in 1955, after many years of waiting, the family was approved to immigrate to America as refugees.
It was my grandparents who sponsored us to come to America. We went to this municipal building to do the paperwork, and I was starving because we took a train and it took forever. And by the time we got there, it was noontime. Of course, the people who work in the municipal area are out to lunch, and they go out to lunch for 2 hours. So we had to wait, and I was starving. And she goes into this little store, she buys bread, and goes to another store and buys mortadella. And we sat on the steps waiting for them to open, and I had the best mortadella sandwich.
Believe me, we didn't have too much to pack. In fact, we had one trunk with 8 people. We brought a set of dishes which broke all because we didn't pack it properly.
What my sister-in-law Rosemary told me is that there was no peace in my grandfather's house until all of us set foot in the United States.
In July 1955, the family boarded the ship Conte Biancamano for a 13-day journey across the Atlantic.
I had no idea that a boat could be that big. It felt like a house on water. And I was like, it's enormous. Look at this. And we get on, and then we waved goodbye to our grandparents. It was just my grandmother at that time, actually. And we took off.
It smelled horrible, number one. And then there were bunks, one on top of each other. 5?
Yeah.
It was in the belly of the boat. And
That was the cheaper fare. But at that time,
we couldn't take first class. We didn't have the
at
money.
that time it was $3,000 for us to come away.
I was the only one that didn't get seasick. My sister Jenny, Rosie, they were all seasick. My mother, so nobody was watching me. But this is the first time that I didn't have somebody saying to me, hey, you stay over here, don't go over there, don't go over there. So I was able to explore the boat fully. I made some American friends, kids, that had toys that like pick up sticks I had never seen before. Monopoly was another game that, I didn't understand the rules because I didn't understand English. But, you move stuff around and somehow either won or lost and it didn't really matter. I made friends with the social director. Every night was casino night and they needed somebody to throw the dice or somebody to, if they were having a horse game, to call numbers.
We left on Tony's birthday and we were at Rosemary's birthday.
After nearly 2 weeks at sea, the family finally saw the American shoreline and the Statue of Liberty.
It's beautiful, amazing. It was, you finally say, oh, this is American.
Coming into the harbor, I remember the Statue of Liberty. We passed by the Statue of Liberty. That was a big deal. And everyone on the boat went over to look at it. It was cool.
My grandmother had sent us a toy fort made out of plastic with Indians and cowboys and all that. The fort. And I thought when you came to America that we were going to get off the ship and there'd be cowboys and Indians like right there across the street. They weren't there. I said, what happened? What happened to the fort? What happened to the Indians and what happened to the cowboys? I remember standing right on top of the platform and saying, where the hell are we?
I thought it'd be no different than Naples, Italy, but it was very different.
It had a smell that was different. One that was right near the water and one because of the exhaust fumes of the city.
With the help of Nonno Salvatore and Nonna Genoveffa, the family settled in a small apartment in the Bronx.
There was the railroad track on one side, Park Avenue on one side. Excuse me, we were on Park Avenue for a few years. And then on the other side there was Morris Avenue, which was the Italian neighborhood of the time.
So our apartment was on a 5th floor.
So I remember counting 57 steps every time we went upstairs to the apartment. And if my mother said, go buy a container of milk because she forgot the container of milk or forgot to buy something, I had to go down 57 steps and come back up 57 steps.
The family began building their life in America. Antonio and Tony found work at Gresh, making guitars and banjos in Brooklyn. Genoveffa and Rosie worked in a dress factory during the day and attended night school with Tony. Annie and Lee started elementary school while Fulvia stayed home to care for Patty.
There's a Robert Heinlein book called A Stranger in a Strange Land. And when you're an immigrant, that's really what you are. You're neither fish nor fowl. You're not really Italian anymore because you're here in the States, but you're not really an American either. So you're this kind of a half-breed.
We were enrolled in Catholic school, and the first day of school was like, I didn't speak a word of English.
I got put in 2nd grade, which was very upsetting to me because I was already 10. I should have been like in 3rd grade, 4th grade. And I was also tallish for my age anyway, so I felt like a big galoot with all these little babies.
I used to walk around with a dictionary in my hand because but it's very difficult looking at a piece of paper with English and hearing somebody speak, especially in New York with a different accent. It didn't mean anything.
Tony, you are always with me. You are the whisper of the leaves as you walk down the street. You're the smell of fresh brewing coffee, flowers you gave me, the fragrance of life itself. You're the warm hand when I am not feeling well. You're the breath in the air on a cold winter day. You're the sound of the rain that lulls me to sleep, the colors of the rainbow, your Christmas presepio. You live inside me with your smile. You're the peace you were born, your first name, your first home, and the map I follow every step I take. You're my first love, my first confidant, but nothing on earth can separate you from me. Not time, not space, not even death. I love you now, I loved you then, and I'll love you forever.
In January of 1956, the family received its first American blessing.
So Sal was not born in Italy. Sal was born in America. Our first winter here, January 1956, my brother was born. And it was like a miracle. Like, here's this kid born in America. It was a great thing for the family. We were so, like, this is a real gift from God. That was really special.
And it was the toy of all of us. It was a joy.
And Sal was a string like Annie that connected the generations in the family. In some ways, it allowed me to see my father not just as a father, but as someone's brother and as a friend.
Sal embodied the American dream. He met Kathy at IBM and quickly won her over with his humor, adventurous spirit, and calmness.
We had lots of different travel experiences. I never saw myself on a motorcycle. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine that I would be on riding a motorcycle. But I did because of Sal. One of his goals was to finish riding through all 48 states. So when he was in UCLA, he did cross country to Annie and then did cross country home, but he missed 3 states. So I had a trip in 1999 to go to Las Vegas for IBM. Then he rode the bike to meet me in Las Vegas. You know, he got to accomplish his 3 missing states. That was a special quality about Sal. He would have a plan, he would have a goal, but he never rushed it. He just put it out to the universe, and when the opportunity comes, he grabs it. But he didn't force it.
The family continued to grow, but always found ways to stay connected. They created traditions like the annual Christmas party, and used the house in the Bronx as a gathering place for celebrations. Sal added his own contribution, the family calendar.
Uncle Sal started doing a year in review because family was the most important. It was so important to him. Keeping the family together. And he always wanted a way to keep the family strong and connected. So he did a year in review. The following year, he decided to make a calendar, but the legacy remains the same. Uncle Sal is always with us, and he keeps us all connected. He keeps us all connected. And this is a beautiful tribute and honor in his memory. Love you, honey.
70 years later, their message echoes across generations.
And when we came, we were all 9. From 9 we came to 60.
You guys are lucky in your generation. And I wish that would be forever.
I think the most important thing is the family, the traditions.
You get to stand on their shoulders and you get to look farther than they ever did or could.
Our story and our path here wasn't an easy one. From having, on one side owning a store, being a merchant, being self-employed, to the next day you're starving and eating grass. And then to come here and to build it up and watch the entrepreneurial spirit, watch all of you guys succeed.
That's a beautiful legacy and a beautiful testament. I don't have anything to add to that because you guys are doing it on your own.
To keep the tradition in a family, it's very important. And know the root to where we came from. That we came from zero. And thank God we all did pretty good. We came from nothing. And the generation of today, they got a big door open in front of them.
Bicsindan. Eszembe unit, szarvatért.
Well, it's Merry Christmas 1994. It's good health and the hopes that the next year will be a healthier and a prosperous one. Salute.
Yes.
Nel sogno mio prima di